Hey everyone, it's Blushie here coming back at you guys today with another video. It's going to be another plushie deep dive video. And today we're going to be doing it on Bright Bat's designs and Bright Bat plushies. So Bright Bat design actually started back in 2016 by Kylie Morency. So she is both the creator and owner of Bright Bat Design. And they sell everything from keychains to pins to stickers. I believe primarily stickers when they first started, of all these cute little different characters that Kylie has designed with the help of her team as well. I'll put the little graphic up here. But they're super duper cute, and it looks like Kylie had kind of built up this brand for a while, based off of kind of like Instagram posts of like when she was a bit smaller, and now is a really successful designer for these characters. And I'll get into those a little bit soon, but I also wanted to mention, I believe they're based out of Bettendorf, Iowa. And Kylie actually comes from the Quad Cities in Iowa. So all based in kind of like closer to her hometown, which I think is really neat. And yeah, also I did find in an interview about some of like the inspiration for Bright Bat designs that Kylie kind of pulls from the kawaii culture, different characters of like Sanrio, Care Bears, and Pokemon. So I think that's really cool. I think it definitely falls within the kawaii genre, for her characters are so adorable. And so getting into the main characters, there could be more than this list that I've compiled. This is from what I can tell this far from my digging into it, of all the characters of Bright Bat. So of course you have, for the cows, you have Shortcake, which is the pink cow. You have Cobbler, who's the blue cow. There's a Smoothie rainbow cow. And then you also have Guacamole, which is green, Meringue, which is yellow, Bloom, I think, is purple, and then Trouble. Boo as well is super duper cute. Latte, Bumble, Cider, Sprout, Waffle, Churro, Patch, Orbit, Sugar, Frankie, Hex, Chili, Rattle, Crush, Coco, Swirl, Holly, which is kind of like more of a Christmas one, Gumdrop, Smooch, Slushy, Calliope, Mallow, Pearl, Sunday, Sorbet, Earl, and Sandy. So that's the whole completed list of those. And they do have 2 cow plushies, since I primarily speak on plushies, and that's what we're going to be looking at today, is some of the ones that I have. But they have 2 cow plush, that would be Shortcake and Cobbler, I believe, of just the pink and the blue cow at the moment. I definitely think they want to expand with some of the other releases that they've done, of the newest like Nuggets project that they have started releasing for these little keychain plushies. But otherwise, I'll go into the dragons. We have Blush, Ink, Flicker, and Jolly. And I believe there's only 2, if I will correct myself if I'm wrong and put it in here. I believe there's only 2 dragon plushies of Blush and Ink, of the pink and black ones. And then there are a few cats, which is Huey and Hocus are the only ones that I could find names for, but there's definitely like a ton of other variations. The dogs, I didn't find any names for them, but they also, again, have a lot of different ones. Aquatic friends, these are just like a bunch of different aquatic animals that I'll put over here as well. And then you have the forest friends, I'll put them up here, and then apple pals, and then there's also bug friends, and then self-care plushie pals. And of course you always have the Bright Bat signature bat character as well. as other variations of bats in addition to that. But yeah, also to touch back on the nugget characters, so I believe that these are kind of like miniature versions of some of the characters that are already in Bright Bat. And I think there are some separate ones that are only exclusive to Nugget, but it's just like this smaller version, I believe, of some of the other characters. Right now they have little bears, so it's a little pink bear keychain for the plush that they have right now. So getting into some of the Bright Bat design successes. So they've been very successful since their start in 2016. They're in a ton of large retailers now, like Hot Topic and Box Lunch. There's also like a very long list on their website of other places as well that are perhaps a little bit more local. Though I do think they had the Blackcraft Cult headquarters also sells their products. But very, very cool. And I actually think I have the announcements, or at least like the posts that they put up when they first released in Hot Topic. And that's kind of where I got to know them from, was from their stickers there. I actually got a lot of the self-care plushie ones that I put on my laptop. So super duper cute. Also, I wanted to talk about that Kylie started the Color Market QC store. So it's an in-person store in Bettendorf, Iowa. So the same city as or same town as where the Bright Bat studio is located. And it has a ton of different stationery and things like that of like smaller artists and products that they sell that incorporate their own designs, but it also sells a lot of Bright Bat merchandise as well. So that's really, really cool. I think it can be really hard, especially to do an in-person store, I know, but I think it's really neat and helps support local artists within their community and kind of reach out a little bit more with the Bright Bat label on it as well. I think it can get people more exposure, hopefully, and hopefully sharing the success that Kylie has as well. Other than that, though, as far as success, they also do have a Quad Cities Symphony Youth Ensemble line or like collaboration that they've done that I thought was really neat. But other than that, there are really no controversies with Bright Bat. We don't really know. It's hard to say with continuously things changing in the news every day, but it is likely for tariffs to affect the costs of the products, especially like shipping from overseas. They are made out of China, so which a lot of like smaller artists definitely, or like bigger artists, or like big companies, you know, a ton of people make their push out of China. Probably 90% of these are made in China, unfortunately, which I am trying to do better at, but we'll get there. We'll get there at some point, you guys. But a lot of smaller artists do use overseas sourcing for these kind of things as well. So it's definitely going to take a toll with the tariffs of kind of being able to produce these, especially in large amounts. It's very difficult. Handmade plushies can be very expensive because they are handmade and they take a lot of time and effort to put into them, as well as it takes, you know, you have to really like hone in on your craft, I feel like, and it just is, it's not sustainable to sell to a lot of people. And so now getting into the actual plush that I have from Bright Bat Design and kind of going through all of the plushie releases that they've had. So we'll start from most recently is the Nugget, the Pink Bear Nugget keychain plushies. As of filming this video, that was 7 days ago. And then they also released, if we're going back to 2023, is when they released the Dragon plushies of Ink and Blossom. And then they also released the version 2 bats. I believe that was in 2023 as well. And then going back to 2021, and I think, yeah, into throughout the year of 2021 is when they ended up releasing the cows of Shortcake and Cobbler, as well as these version 1. I believe these were the very first plush that they made, even before the cows of the version 1 Bright Bat plushies. And I think with having 2 of the Bright Bat plushies, I think it's really interesting to kind of see where they grew from version 1 as opposed to version 2. And it's also worth noting that they have, I believe it's 4 in total colors of the pink, the purple, the black, and then the rainbow. So they've got like a tie-dye rainbow version. But let's go ahead and take a look at the version 1. So as far as you can tell, very noticeable differences is going to be the fabric that they used. So it is still like a polyester blend, I believe. But it's much shorter, so it's like a squishmallow, but really, really soft. Definitely provides like a different sort of experience as opposed to this one, because you've got in the version 2 it's much more fluffy. And then you can tell as well of these seams around the neck. They're actually still there on the version 2, but they are definitely a lot less noticeable because of the length of the fur on this plush. The other thing that's pretty noticeable as well is how floppy the ears are in this plush, as opposed to this one. They do have like more of like a stable, like kind of like filler, or like, I can't think of the word, not like boning, but similar, to kind of get the ears to stand up a little bit more, as opposed to this one. It's definitely, I think there's like a little bit of like a wire or something in there, but it's not really holding up these ears as much as like you have with this plush. So I would definitely say that's a big improvement. Otherwise though, I think that the designs are pretty close to the same. It definitely depends on like which kind of like sensory experience you're looking for as well. If you prefer kind of more of a fluffy texture, as opposed to this more like shorter kind of not like microfiber, but you guys know what I mean, more like squishmallow texture. Yeah, and here's their tails. Pretty similar again, with little feet. And they have the same seams as well running up the middle of their stomach. I believe it's pretty difficult to change up a lot on the patterns, I'm sure, as far as like sourcing and things. But then you also can compare their faces as well. I think these are pretty similar too, other than I think the blush might be a little bit more, or maybe that's just a trick of the eye for me, of like they seem a little bit more round, but honestly they look pretty similar, you guys. Maybe the mouth is a little bit, like the actual tongue part's a little bit smaller, but very, very cute. And then something that I really like is the tags are super clear, and like this is really big, and then you have where it's made and what batch it is. So this was made in September of 21, and this was in the second batch of these plush. And then you have this one, which they did update the tags to include the website, but otherwise they look pretty much the same. And then you have, this was made in August 2022, and this was in batch 1. So I think for quality overall, I think obviously if we're talking about this plush, I do personally like better than this one. I like both of them a lot, and I do think it's really cool to have kind of like both versions. But if I had to pick this one, I would say that this one is higher quality, just for the fact of that the ears are much more stable and sit a lot better. And then getting into the price, so I believe both of these are priced at $35 or around $30. I'll put the current pricing up here. I know I actually got this one on sale, and I believe I got this one on sale as well. But these are very, very large plush for the price that you're getting, especially in like a cute design like this. I feel like this is like a steal, honestly, for what you're paying for them. I really think that, you know, especially like this one, with kind of like the structural integrity that it has, and just to be like an awesome like display piece if you're somebody that collects, or if you're perhaps someone who's like a cuddler. I think both of these plushies do a really great job in that sense, and are very, very cute. Um, and as far as uniqueness as well, I mean, I think that given that these are from a very small artist, well, she's gotten a lot bigger, as we've kind of discussed. But still, of like a artist who designed these and these different characters and gave them life. I feel like that these are really unique. I especially think as she releases more and more, we'll see even more characters that are really special within themselves as well. But yeah, I think overall, like, I have never seen something like quite like this. Maybe I think there was a bat plush sold at Cracker Barrel at one point. I'm not really sure what brand it was, where like the wings actually clipped together, but I don't believe it was nearly as cute of a design as far as the embroidery on the face. And I think they're very recognizable as well, as far as the Bright Bat brand, especially when you're taking a look at these bat plushes. I really think that they're for everybody. I think for little kids, I would have no concerns about them having one of these plushies. They don't have any kind of like small parts or like beans in their butt. And then I think for like a collector, especially like the version 2. And as far as my final ranking, you guys, I would give Bright Bat 10 bats out of 10. Absolutely phenomenal designs from Kylie and her team. I think it's really cool what they've been able to do as well for like the in-person store and just getting the Bright Bat brand out there. It's very difficult for small artists to be making it in today's economy more now than ever. So I hope to just see more from her and more designs of these adorable little characters, and continue to support her in whichever ways that I can. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!